Got into this originally, health and fitness, all that stuff, probably when I was 18 years old. Growing up, I was always an athlete, but I was never like the stud athlete, physical specimen or anything like that. I always had to work pretty hard to do well. That being said, ended up being fairly decent at whatever sport I played, probably just through hard work and my neurotic tendencies. But basically, grew up that way, grew up playing sports. And then when I turned 18, I gained some weight going to community college. And at the time, I knew absolutely nothing about health and fitness, just run more, eat less, eat fruits and veggies, like all the basic. That worked for a little bit, got into college, went into the weight room, started seeing dudes that were jacked, stuff like that, athletes, and I really wanted that. I just became infatuated with health and fitness, and at the time CrossFit was really big. My friend Rob, I'll never forget leaving the dorm room, and he was doing muscle ups like off of a tree with rings. And at the time, this was like unheard of. Like no one was doing functional fitness. So started to get into that, eating paleo, doing all the normal CrossFit. Ended up with, probably looking back on it, was pretty severe to decent eating disorder, or just like fitness disorder. I wasn't starving myself, but I was eating only clean foods and training like 3 times a day. So royally myself up there with my hormones, my health, everything like that. Became super depressed. Only trained in my garage by myself, like shoveling paths in the snow, warming up barbells inside with a heater level. Like I was following a competitive CrossFit program at the time, super into CrossFit, like Rich Froning, like all the OGs, like NorCal Strength at the time too, like weightlifting gym, John North, Donnie Shankle, like OG. So anyway, eventually realized I couldn't have testosterone like in the 100s, so started eating and fueling more, building strength, and ironically my CrossFit workouts started to get way better from just gaining strength and gaining muscle mass and gaining weight. Crazy, I know. So ended up joining CrossFit New England, which was a really, and still is, a very world-renowned CrossFit gym. Unbelievable coaches. Started training around other phenomenal athletes. I was nowhere near as good as them, but it was cool to get an inside glimpse of super high-performing CrossFit athletes, functional athletes, hybrid athletes, whatever people call them now, but weightlifting, conditioning, aerobic training, like everything you can imagine, basically what High Rocks is nowadays. But trained there, ended up being like, hey, I can make this a career, seeing so many different avenues in fitness and health, like people that worked in product lines, coaches, gym owners, everything like that. So I really wanted to get into the space and make it my career. So I ended up coaching CrossFit general population, high school athletes for 2 years at a private facility. From there, I wanted to just gain more knowledge, more education. So I pursued my master's, left there, interned at a couple D1 programs, one being UMass Lowell Hockey under Devin McConnell, which you can look him up. He's unbelievable coach, unbelievable mentor, really blended like cutting edge sports science with also his motivational speaking and like mentorship and building camaraderie and team and family dynamics. Like at that program. So got to learn a ton from him. Ended up getting a job at prep school, one of the best prep schools in the world. I think it's either number 1 or number 2 every single year. Got to work with unbelievable kids, like smartest, most intellectual, best kids I've ever known for their age, especially. Really good athletes. So worked there as an assistant strength and conditioning coach or sports performance coach for probably 2 years. From there, left up for Fort Drum in the Army. Worked with the military for just about 5 years, mostly with an infantry battalion. And I got to train people for selection there, special forces prep, ranger courses, and then just a ton of regular good soldiers that were more like general population, regular people. After that, that's when we wanted to move out of a miserable place with, 5 feet of snow at a time, frozen tundra. So we moved down here. Now I'm doing, my job is in more virtual care, health coaching. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. I have a master's in exercise science, sports performance. I have my National Strength and Conditioning Association Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, CSCS, FMS, NASM, PES, like you name it, but I don't really think certs are that relevant or important after a certain point. And same with even just education and knowledge. I think you can really plateau on just continuously knowing more before you actually go and do it. So the point of me being here, me putting out information is a lot of times you get either science or theory, or science and real life application, and you never get both. So you're either working with elite systems, elite athletes, where that's a completely different ballgame, or you're working with just general population clients, stuff like that, and that's a different application. But basically, there's not many people who have seen inside the worlds of both like elite athletes in the hybrid CrossFit, space, trained alongside them, and trained elite athletes in a sport athlete, so D1 professional athletes. So you either get coaches with a ton of experience, ton of knowledge, ton of science background, or you get the person that's just lived it, done it, trained, they were an athlete, and now, hey, do as I say because it worked for me. Or you get the unique influencer, which I think most of us look up to, who they look jacked, they're physical specimens, but they most likely don't look that way training the way they do now. So without naming names, like your favorite jacked hybrid athlete running 100-mile weeks didn't get there and he didn't get there looking like that by training that way. So your training needs to resemble the way you want to look, feel, perform. So I see a lot of people training this way, like endless amounts of miles, hybrid style, but they're lacking muscle mass, where these guys that they look up to spent a decade just bodybuilding or gaining strength, gaining muscle mass, probably was not as lean as they were. They were probably 12 to 15% body fat. And now they're just doing a shit ton of endurance and running, and now they're shredded and they're maintaining their muscle mass. But that most likely won't work for you. Doesn't work for me. I'm not genetically gifted. So those people, they're either in the 0.01% genetically gifted, or they're using performance enhancing drugs and lying about it. So all that to say is not to discredit that type of training or that type of methodology, but having a science background, having experience in more elite systems and structured systems for sport athletes, and experience just doing the thing, getting out there, actually being the athlete, and experiencing like training next to world-class athletes. It's a unique blend. And I don't think one is more important than the other. And again, I don't think I'm some type of, I have the greatest idea in the world. Like I'm sharing ideas I've learned along the way from other people and just trying to blend it into my own formula that I have applied to my own life and trying to just share it with you guys. So it's a long-winded little backstory about me and basically why what I say you might be able to listen to. So